This is how it all began. To me, this story really doesn't seem all that interesting. People need a tangible reason for everything, but the answers sometimes don't even matter. I call that the why of the why. I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
I want to set the world on fire. I can do that. And anybody that says I can do that can. And I believe that I am. I want to start a revolution. I want to start a revolution of artists coming together to change the world. You don't have to have a dime. I thought to myself, I'm not rich. You know, I've struggled just like everybody else, but what do I have that I can give back? And what I had was my artwork.
Forever moment and of time.
I call that the why of the why. Everything major in my life has started with a dream. There was just a voice, and the voice was persistent. Go to the art store, buy paints, buy canvases, buy brushes. Don't wait a minute, just go as soon as you wake up. Me being the stubborn person that I am, I had to say something back in my dream. Why do I have to do this? Because I'm not an artist, and so I don't need brushes, and I don't need canvases, and I don't need paints. And it was on and on all night long, and then the voice got really loud, and it was screaming in my ear, and I couldn't argue back with it. And that's the thing that I remember. The last thing that I remember before I opened my eyes was my ears were ringing from the screaming of that voice. And as soon as I woke up, I didn't question it. I brushed my teeth, ran out the door, had my bag. I found myself walking into Blick and buying oil paints and canvases and brushes. I went downstairs and bought the most amazing metallic pigments. I had no idea what I was doing. I sheepishly walked up to a salesperson and asked if I could mix the acrylics with the oils because they each had pretty colors and they weren't the same. The salesperson looked at me like I had two heads and walked away mumbling, "Oil and water, idiot, don't mix." I felt like a total goofball. Of course oil and water don't mix. I stood there shaking my head, and a little old lady who had been watching the interaction was so kind to me. She was in a painting club and shopping for brushes. I felt so humbled as she led me around that store for over an hour, and I will never forget her kindness. Thank you, kind stranger. When I got home and set up my canvas and placed the first stroke of blue on all that white, I felt like I fell into an alternate reality or a trance. The next time I looked at the time, 2 hours had passed and I was an artist. I still have that first painting on my bedroom wall. I will never live in a home without that.
To me, blood represents life, and life represents blood, you know? And they go hand in hand, and it's what you spill for your art, it's what you spill for love. It's pain, it's pleasure, it's joy, it's all of those things. And so it's representative of blood is in pretty much everything that I paint. If you really look closer, there's always blood there.
It's all been thrown and breathed onto my canvases, and I became a different shape. I became a different form. I became a different life force. My DNA changed, in essence. I am not the same. I am forever changed. My art is my life, and I am my art. And I live in it, and it lives in me, and it has saved me, and it has opened my eyes to never be closed ever again. My DNA has changed. It's an amazing feeling to finally realize what my purpose in life is. Since I have no idea of what realm this comes from, everything that I do or everything that happens on that canvas is supposed to be exactly what happens. And that is to me a metaphor for life. You know, every horrible thing that happened to me in the past, things that made me so sad that I didn't want to be in this world anymore, they were supposed to happen because all roads lead to here. Like, I would not have realized what purpose was, what calling was, what to help another person was. I don't think I would have realized what that was unless I felt that pain, and I was in that position of feeling hopeless and helpless and alone. You know, and my paintings were everything that brought me back to the world. And so I want to be that thing that brings people back to the world. You know, I want to be that thing that says to someone, hey, you know what, you're not alone. I went through it. Guess what? I'm here. And you know what? These guys saved my life. Really, they saved my life, and I'm grateful. And that's why I have to give them away, because then maybe they could save somebody else's life. They did their job with me.
New York Housing Works has been changing lives really for the past 2 decades, and all thanks to people like Ford model Monica Watkins, who's joining us this morning. Those goals are being met, and we're so happy to have her.
I started volunteering at Housing Works as a tribute to my sister's best friend, Gary. He died over 10 years ago of AIDS, and he is a huge part of the reason why I started modeling in the first place. He taught me about beauty and grace and love of self and mascara. He had the most alive laughter that made me feel like I was in the midst of 1,000 wind chimes, and his eyes sparkled with mischief. He said the funniest phrases, and I called them Garyisms. He made me laugh until my stomach ached. We would be at the mall shopping, and he would see a beautiful dress and look at the price tag and screech, "Girl, this dress is high as giraffe pussy." I would literally giggle from embarrassment until I had tears rolling down my face. He knew how to live. We would stay up late with my sister, and he would put our hair in rollers, and we would play poker until 3 a.m. We called that our cafe time. His death, to all who knew him, was a huge loss of a light that shined so brightly in all our lives that for quite some time, the world seemed to have grown dim in an instant. I dedicate this to Gary.
Sometimes the people that affect you the most, you think their name should be in a book somewhere. They should be famous. They should be known.
For me, when I start painting, I have to build a foundation, and that foundation is like past lives. It's a layer on top of a layer on top of a layer on top of, and each layer is different. They start out white because it's the purity of that first lifetime, and they build and they have color, and they're metallic because that's how I see people, in layers and metallic colors. And you know, when the light hits them, they become something else. When life happens, you become something else. That's what transformation is. That's what painting is. Sometimes they're jagged, and sometimes they come at you and it's violent, and sometimes it's rolling hills and it's water and it's you're traveling, and each square inch of every painting that I create is a world unto itself. And you can look at every square inch and you can see a lifetime. And that is what I create, and that is who I am, and everything is a reflection of that. I just started noticing there was like a change in my thought process. I just became more compassionate. I became more involved in the knowledge that there was not only just me in the world. Like living an insular life became an impossibility, you know? I actually became more connected to every single person in this universe by painting, because once I got it out and it was on a canvas, I realized what it was. You know, it was empathy, and it was love, and it was progress, and it was evolution, and it was transformation. The reason that I wanted to start a foundation, start a production company, create a movement of artists was because I had it up to the gills. I could not sit by and see my brother and my sister on this earth suffer if there's anything I can do about it.
I want people that come to this event to leave forever changed. I want them to know that, you know, you can have a little idea that becomes something greater than yourself, that becomes something greater than even the idea, you know? And let's start here in New York City. How about that? We start here where we set the tone in fashion, in art, in music, in food, every culture, like the best museums in the world here, the history of art here, of music here, one step at a time, one person at a time. I want to support the true artist. You know, I want to support those people that love what they do just for the sake of the love of it. If they ever made a dime, it wouldn't matter. But the art is the air, it's the breath, it's the sustenance in the life of a true artist. Just for the sake of it. Just to know that you are blessed to be able to do what you do. It's a blessing, you know? And so I think as a community, an artist community, we need to support each other. And that's, you know, that's part of this whole movement, you know? And I just am really excited to be a part of it. I'm so excited to say that I'm an artist and very proud of that.
I want to start a revolution in crayons.
I like to start a revolution in visual emotion.
I'll start a revolution in style. I want to start a revolution in communication.
I want to start a revolution in the love and passion of freedom of expression.
I want to start a revolution in dance and fashion.
I want to start a revolution of silence.
I would start a revolution in action.
I would like to start a revolution in reaction.
I want to start a revolution in sensitivity.
I want to start a revolution in love and passion of
sensitivity.
Freedom of expression.
It starts from your ancestry. It starts in your blood. There's a type A blood, there's a type O blood, and then there's a type artist blood. I think so.
I love that.
It's
I love
true.
that. Do you get any get out of jail free cards for having that type of blood?
No, you get some get in jail free cards because you don't have the same idea of society.
Right.
You know, like some things can make you or break you.
Yeah.
This is the best way to be broken.
Yeah.
Sure.
I love that.
This is what you do. So do it like let's say if you're a lion in the jungle, right? A lion in the jungle just sits all day and chills, you know. And then the lioness, they go out and hunt the food. Now they really hunt the food. They're not joking around. They're not half hunting. You know, they're chasing and hunting. And the lion sits there and he comes, he gets his little share. But the lion's job is actually to beat other lions up. So when the jackals come with a bunch of jackals and they're trying to take things, it's that big lion that comes with that big paw and goes ah. But that's you know, that could be a metaphor for your creative energy. Like if you're that lion, you can see you're ready when it's time for you to do your job. Whether if you're a lioness or a lion, you come out with full force and you don't do it. You do it. You know, you don't go halfway.
And combine them like they did back in the day with the Balahus and Coco Chanel, as well as, you know, William Forsythe and Versace, Gianni Versace. They collaborated, made costumes. You know, recently Prada just did the Metropolitan Opera which was a big step, but there needs to be more of that. There needs to be more artists supporting artists, you know. It's almost like a scale, you know, you have to help each other, and too many people nowadays are you know, all too selfish and all in it for themselves.
I want to start a revolution of artists coming together to change the world. You don't have to have a dime.
I am Monica Watkins. Up until a year ago, I lived in the shadow of my potential and didn't know it. I thought I was just fine. I was a model. I was living my life. I was having connections with people on the surface of all things. And one day, my life changed. My eyes opened. I became an artist. I became aware of my surroundings. Before, I lived in a bubble and traveled like I was in one of those bubbles of Hubba Bubble bubble gum that somebody blows out and it disconnects from their mouths and it floats into the atmosphere, and I was traveling in that bubble. And the bubble burst. I fell to earth. I found my calling in life. I became a painter, a lover of all things, a lover of beauty, a lover of my sister and my brother. On the streets of New York, people I might have never known or met in my entire life, but had love for in an instant. That is what art has done for me, and I want to bring that to the world. I want to give that love to the world. I want to give that tolerance and that acknowledgement that we are connected to everything and everyone on this earth, and every person deserves to be valid, and every person deserves to be recognized as something beautiful, and we have to help each other. I can't do it alone, and just in this short amount of time, I've had people come together, perfect strangers on the street, come together and say, I believe in that vision. I believe in that revolution of love and tolerance and thought process, and I want to be a part of that. I want to start a revolution in acknowledgement, acknowledging that this world can no longer be insular. We each have to do our part to make this place better. Our children that are yet to be born, that are still spirits out in the universe, deserve to know that the place that they will be born into will be a better place, and it is because of us, and it starts here, and it starts right now. He sees me. Her mama calls her sugar simply because she knows her child. To everyone else, she's all bones and right angles and elbows and knees sticking out like booby traps, waiting to ensnare and sting with her message, waiting to cause a change in this reluctant world. She needs a bit of work on her delivery sometimes. She smiles at the thought, but he sees her, the meat of her, the fat of her, the joy of her, the substance, in fact. It's all there in one central location, only if you look for it, look a bit closer, look past the beauty, look past the sharpness and urgency of her message, look a bit deeper to the heart of the matter.